Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TARDIS Zone. And we are here for the TARDIS Zone talks. So, it seems Jodie Whittaker has not gone quietly into the night, and I suppose with the centenary special coming up, I suppose it was gonna happen that she was going to be doing some sort of promotion. So today on the Doctor Who Twitter account, well, I say it was all the social media accounts, they asked fans to pop in their questions to ask Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill. And of course, a Q&A, but of course we know it wasn't a proper Q&A because the questions obviously, that were handed to Whittaker and Mandip would have been scrutinised, and they would have handpicked the questions, because I did actually go into one of the social media accounts and actually did leave a question. My question was, how does Jodie and Mandip Gill feel about having their characters severely underdeveloped? And of course, that question, unfortunately, wasn't put to Miss Whittaker and Mandip Gill. So, as I said, it's like everything that's happened, even during the COVID pandemic. They were having these video Comic Cons, and they safeguarded the comments, made sure that there was no comments put in there that were anyway negative, and of course the questions were handpicked. But apparently, she's very upset. She's upset because she still hasn't gotten used to the idea that she's no longer the Doctor. So the question I'm asking is, well, why are you crying? You clearly have shown in interviews and the way you've spoke about the show that you actually don't care. And people say different and say she does care and all this. She doesn't care. She's never cared. When she was given the role, she was told not to do any research, right? And she stuck by that, right? And then when it was apparent that she was way over her head and didn't know what she was doing, she decided to watch 3 episodes. 3 stories, I should say. Right? So she didn't care, because there's any actor or actress worth a grain of salt, and I keep saying this, would have done the research, even if their boss had told them not to. Any actor and actress worth a grain of salt, and we've seen plenty of examples of this, especially with big movies where the directors told the actor or actress not to research the role, but they've gone and researched it anyway. And then the director said, yeah, it was a mistake. They gave a better performance. So any actor or actress worth a grain of salt would have done that. But apparently she's upset. Now, we did speak on this channel after Series 11. We told you on this channel that we had received information that Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall are ready to walk away. Were ready to walk away at the end of Series 11. And they were convinced by Piers Wenger and others to stay on. Right? Now it turns out that after Series 12, Jodie Whittaker had finally made up her mind that she was leaving. So a whole year before she told everybody, she'd already decided that she was gone. This is a woman that did not care about this role. When this role didn't go her way or the way she thought it would go, she wanted to bail out. Doctor Who to her was a stepping stone, something she could put on her CV, right? And beside that, Doctor Who, the first female Doctor. That's something, right? It's all this nonsense when she came out and she said
that she was what was she? She was gender neutral or something because she used to play with her brother's toys and they wore the same clothes. Well, we all did, but we're not all going around saying that we were bleeding this, that, and the other. It's just the way it was. We were poorer back then. We made do with what we had. But anyway, there is an article by the Plymouth Times, and it has been picked up by the Radio Times as well. So you're going to see this article around quite a bit. Now, I've put the article in the link description, so you can go and check out the article yourselves. But I'm going to say this. She either made up her mind to leave. She'd already made up her mind to leave after Series 11. We know that, right? People can deny it all they want. She was, right? She's convinced to stay along with Chibs. They stayed. And I think she just had enough after Series 12 because the problems that and this is openly spoken about by BBC Radio, by the way. I have a video up on the channel, right, where the two DJs are actually talking about this. And he said that there was problems during Series 11's production, and they carried on into Series 12. Right? There was a lot of infighting. Chaos in Cardiff did happen, by the way, and that all will come out. It did happen. I'm telling you now, it happened. Right? It went all pear-shaped backstage. So this whole thing, this whole shit show that's dragged out for 5 years has been an absolute complete shit show behind the production side of things. So either she decided that she was going to stay or the axe was dropped anyway. Because the original rumor, when she was cast, remember, the original rumor that was going around by some people that were reporting on this was saying that she was contracted for 5 series. Right? 5 series. Right? Not 3 series over 5 years. It was supposed to be originally 5 series people were reporting. Now, if that's the case, but she's only done 3, so something's have to go wrong somewhere. Right? But she's look, the reason why I asked is she fired is because I think it is a legit question to ask, because Peter Capaldi, we're all pretty sure he was fired so Whittaker could take his place. So we have to ask the question, did she leave of her own volition? Because we did know she wanted to leave. This is why I'm telling you the whole backstory. We do know that she wanted to leave when it all went pear-shaped, right? But did she then, when she decided to stay, did she then, after that then, the BBC saw how bad it was with, i.e. Series 12 and then Flux. Did they pull the axe? Did they drop the axe? Because, you know, I don't know. She's trying to come across as if she cared. And I don't like that. Because she didn't care. She did not care. Right? And we're still having this argument on Twitter, by the way. Someone posted up the video of her dissing fans in that Stylist video saying this was iconic. And I made the point, there's nothing iconic about a woman who's being spiteful and like she didn't. The thing about it is, see, this could have went, look at this is the way I look at it. If Whittaker had to behave this way, came in, right? There's a backlash, okay. But if she had to come out and said the right things and had a good team of PR people behind her and had to come out and said the right things, right? Didn't say any of the nonsense that she came out with, but just said all the right things. And still, even if she wasn't up to the role and up to the job and the writing was crap, she wouldn't have got as much heat as she got. Actually, all the focus would have went on to Chris Chibnall. Because we would have looked at her this way, well, she's trying her best. She's just miscast. Like, she said and done all the right things. Do you know what I mean? That's all it is, JWC. See, it's the conventions now. So she knows if she says and does the right things now, she's in for a few bob. It's the same with Christopher Eccleston. You know, he's back all of a sudden doing conventions on Doctor Who now because, and this is the reality of it, because it's very lucrative and they make a lot of money, right? So Whittaker is going and saying all the right things, saying that she cared, she's upset, all of this other nonsense, because she knows that if she doesn't, nobody will bother coming out to see her. She does have a hardcore fan base. They will always go and see her. But if she wants to get some more people in and make some extra cash, she needs to be saying and doing all the right things. And I've even noticed as well in the Q&A that she did with Mandip today, she comes across as far more likeable now. She's not coming out with silly crap. She's having fun. She's answering the questions. You know, she's not throwing these silly faces around. She's just having fun. She's just being goofy. Right? Why couldn't we have seen more of that side of Whittaker? You know, again, as I said, some of the attention wouldn't have been put on her if she had played it right. And she played it wrong. And this is why I admire Shooty so much right now. Because he hasn't opened his mouth. He hasn't opened his mouth. He did the one interview and he said a couple of more things in other little interviews when he was talked about it, when he was asked about Doctor Who and stuff. But he has said and done all the right things so far. Right? He's saying and doing all the right things so far. There's a stark difference. Is he getting as much heat as Jodie Whittaker was getting? Even though some people will actually say that a person of colour shouldn't be playing the Doctor. I disagree with that, by the way. But some people will say that. But is he getting the heat that Jodie Whittaker got? Absolutely not. And the reason why is because he's played it absolutely spot on. When Sylvester McCoy did that video of welcoming Shooty to the Whoniverse, yeah, Shooty replied back, and it was humbling. He said all the right things, and he came across. And listen, this guy honestly comes across as a very passionate person, and seems to be very passionate about Doctor Who, and wants to do right by it. And you know what? That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. And as I said on Twitter, right? As I said on Twitter, I feel good in me bones about this casting. I really do. And as JWC, me and him were having a bit of a conversation because we were all talking on Twitter. And there's none of this. RTD cast him because he was the best for the role. Right? Skin colour didn't even come into it for RTD. Right? And the media could spin it that that's what it was. It wasn't. He picked the right. RTD hasn't made a bad casting for Doctor Who. So why would he start now? Right. Legend of the Travelling TARDIS says, though, I think she cared, but not for the same things fans wanted. As I said on your show, she demonstrated what a bad role model she was, doing mean tweets. Look, I'll agree with the fact that I think she did care, but she cared for different reasons. She cared what this role could do for women and elevate women. And I don't think personally that needed to happen in the fandom. No bloke has ever told a woman in the Doctor Who fandom. I've never seen it, no. And nobody's ever told a woman that they can't be a fan of Doctor Who. It just doesn't happen. It's just like with all of these other groups that claim that they've been neglected or rejected. Nobody's ever told anybody that they couldn't pick up a Doctor Who comic or watch Classic Who or watch New Who. You know what I mean? Or any of those shows. Or any of the spin-offs. Nobody told anybody anything like that. This has been a false narrative that's been thrown out there since day one. Question: was Jodie told to behave like a hater by Chibnall to have a go at his critics? I don't know, because someone did actually say to me on Twitter as well, and to be fair, you know, I'll reference it. But they said that, remember, Jodie Whittaker was employed by BBC and Chibnall, and whatever she was told to say, she would say. Now, I get that to a certain extent, but when do you, as an actor or an actress, kind of take a step back and say, oh, hang on now, how does this benefit me if I'm attacking fans and if I'm having a go at most of the male fandom? Like, even someone with a little bit of common sense would see through that. No? Am I being too harsh to think that people are as smart as me? Did Chris Chibnall let her take the brunt of everything? Absolutely. I think he's a coward. I actually think he's a coward. And I actually think, you know, if Jodie wasn't fired and she did decide to leave, I'd say it's got to do with the fact that their relationship broke down. He was supposed to protect her. That was his job. Let's see, what other comments have we got? She was his human shield, JWC Review says in that follow-up. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Shooty is getting his head down. Exactly, man. And I have to say, man, his dress sense is absolutely spectacular. Man, he wears some snazzy suits. Let's see. The first thing I heard him say was how pleased he was with all the diversity and representation. That was a huge red flag. Actually, talking about diversity and inclusion, this tweet that I've thrown up has actually gotten a lot of traction, right? So remember all of the things that this production team and all of the little videos that they did that included safe space, inclusion, and all of this other nonsense that they said was important, yeah? Right? See, it's a false narrative because nobody has excluded anybody. People will watch these things if they're good or if it's what they're into. If they're not into it, you can't force people to watch it. This is the way these executives and Hollywood acts right now. Like, I'm sorry, these programs are niche, right? They have certain people that like them. It's just as simple as that. But there's nothing wrong with that. But it seems to be dirty to have for any person or any of us to have a show of our own. They have to try and include people. But what they don't understand is, well, the show Doctor Who's been around for half a century. It doesn't stick around for half a century if it wasn't popular. So the question must be asked, and okay, if it was that popular, then where's all these other fans that you claim that the show neglected? Anyway, I threw this up, right? I'm going to show you this because this is how hypocritical this production team was, right? So remember all of those things that I told you the production team said, you know, diversity, inclusion, space for all, and all of this, right? And they banged on about it so much about how there was going to be more representation and all of that. And then I was thinking, okay, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, practice what you preach is what we would say. Yeah. Well, I'm going to show you the production team on the very last day of filming, right? So this was the last day when they all got together, the production team over the last 5 years, they all got together for a group photo with Jodie Whittaker and the cast, right? Now, have a look at this. This is your diversity. This is your inclusion. This is your safe space for all. Right? So there you go. Can I actually click into the photo itself? Hold on, let's see if we can big this photo up. Come on, why are you taking about an hour to load? Right, there you go. Can someone tell me what's wrong with that photo? So this is what I wrote. For a production team that banged on about space for all and diversity and inclusion, didn't really take that advice themselves, looking at this photo of the team on the last day of filming, mostly white. So production team, right, and a crew that dedicated itself and prided itself on trying to include people didn't actually hire behind the scenes, because I can see mostly white people there. There's a few being represented, but overall, you know, that's the cast there at the front, some of the cast at the front. So don't be fooled by some of the people that are there. But look, you know, again, hypocrites. Hypocrites. Right? This is why we don't listen to this crap. Right? The show forgot nobody. Right? The show neglected nobody. And the show rejected nobody. Right? If you were a fan of Doctor Who, you were a fan of Doctor Who. Right? The show was always there. Right? Nobody could personally tell you not to put in a videotape or a DVD to watch Doctor Who. Even growing up in the classic era, nobody told you not to watch Doctor Who. This has been the false narrative that has been set by all of these fans when they knew a female doctor was gonna happen. Right? This was months in the planning and all of these accounts, and then the media are ready with their articles as well. But anyway, let's get in, because I've spoken for 28 minutes without actually getting into the article. So we'll get into the article now. So, and just to read this. And let me know whether you think she was fired or whether you think she just finally had enough. Right, why is this article gone all funny on me? Am I still going live, am I? Yes, we are. We are. Right, give me a second for a minute, That made no fucking sense at all. Give us a second and I fix this bleeding stupid thing. Something's always bleeding happening. Oh, you've decided to pop up again. It probably doesn't want me to read this article. Anyway, hold on, we'll get it up there real quick. Right, here we go. Jeez, before it goes. It's in the link description, by the way. It's in the link description. And as I said, as I'm reading, I'll be giving my opinion, because, you know, just to be safe. So, Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker still crying after leaving the BBC show. Jodie Whittaker's replacement, Ncuti Gatwa, will front new episodes of Doctor Who from 2023 onwards. We all know that part. We want to just get to the juicy part. So Jodie Whittaker has admitted that she's still crying about her impending exit from Doctor Who, having sacked Peter Capaldi in 2017. Now, I know they don't have sacked in the article, but I'm putting sacked because he was sacked to make way for Jodie Whittaker.
Well, she's already left, but I don't know why she's still crying. Well, see, this again, this is fake. This is fake, man. She's not crying. She's already moved on. She's moved on for months now, right? She's way moved on. She doesn't give two craps. She's thinking of the ching ching that's about to come up. The 40-year-old is set to leave the BBC science fiction show later this month with a feature-length special, The Power of the Doctor. Yeah. Nobody gives a crap. 7:30, by the way, the 23rd of October. The time hasn't been confirmed, but I'm telling you, it's going to be either 7:30, well, 7:20 or 7:30, but there is a gap in the schedule between 7:30 and 9. So I reckon it's 7:30. So 7:30 to 9 o'clock. Whittaker's departure from Doctor Who was confirmed over a year ago. Yes, we know that. We all celebrated and jumped for joy. It was absolutely a fantastic day. Despite all the time to process her exit, Whittaker revealed that she is still on an emotional roller coaster. Right. I don't think it's that easy to process. You are crap. Move on. Bye. I had a whole year to get my head around leaving, and I'm still not there, she told Zoe Ball's breakfast show on BBC Radio 2 on Tuesday. I'm still crying about it. I'm still clinging on to the coattails and reluctantly handing over the shoes. And that's the line. This is why I ask, was she sacked? She's saying she's reluctantly handing over her shoes. Like, why would you be reluctantly handing over your shoes if you decided the time was right to go? However, the broad-shouldered star can take some solace in the fact that The Power of the Doctor will be a positive goodbye to the 13th Doctor and her time on the show. Oh my God, who writes these things? It's only a good thing to end something and be just grief-stricken because it was such a wonderful experience. So there's no negative, she said. Well, maybe on your part. And for us, it's a good thing because it's coming to an end. But we're grief-stricken because, Chris Chibnall bastardized the Time Lords and actually bastardized the Doctor. And there was a lot of negativity, I'm sorry, but maybe nobody told you at the BBC, but, shielded you and stuff. But your era is one of the most hated. Fact. There will also be a Doctor Who forced for fans to enjoy in The Power of the Doctor, and the whole show's 59-year history. No televised story has ever united the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Master as adversaries for the Doctor. I think you are forgetting all about the Pandorica. The Pandorica opens that two-parter. What are you talking about? The Daleks, the Cybermen, they were all there, except for the Master, I suppose. But they were all there. They all came together in an alliance. So it's not the first time in the show's history. Again, who writes this stuff? And we all know that Sacha Dhawan, who I do like as the Master, is coming back, and hopefully he's the one that makes her regenerate, because that'll be absolutely brilliant. The Power of the Doctor is set to change that, with all three featuring in Whittaker's final episode. Oh Jesus, they already all use out. Like, get away. Right, so basically they talk about her crying for about 2 seconds, and then the rest of it is just all about this special. I mean, if you were gonna fucking clickbait fans, like, you could have just said, like, she's crying, she doesn't give a toss, and you could have left it there. You know what I mean? Look, she's gonna say these things.
because she knows that she has crazies on Twitter and Instagram that talk about her in a vile, rude way, in a sexual way, that they're all going to be going to these Comic Cons. They're all going to be obsessed with her. Sure, we've seen that famous photograph of all our fans at one of the Comic Cons, and it was mostly all women in their Whittaker costumes. So that's the type, and a couple of male feminists that have been pussyfied because, you know, they're not real men. They can't grow a fucking set of balls. You let these women walk all over them like cop on. Don't know what kind of society we live in today, man. Equal means equal. We've been crying for 5 effing years, as problem being, yes, we bleed and have. We absolutely have. Oh yeah, some of you might realise, because I have to shout it out there just in case you are wondering. Chris, our head mod, gifted 5 memberships. So if you all of a sudden see a membership tag beside your name, it is down to our gracious and wonderful mod, Chris Persia. So if you see him in the chat, don't forget, say thanks, because I think that was a lovely thing to do. I mean, even, yeah, exactly. Even that group photo wasn't very diverse either. I mean, it's all, look, all of this nonsense, right? Sci-fi shows, Star Trek, Doctor Who, were very progressive, and you know, when it came to representation, they weren't afraid to break those barriers that were around at the time. This was a false narrative, right? We've got female directors working on Doctor Who, producers working on Doctor Who in the classic era. We even had black people in the classic era, but that's never talked about, right? Doctor Who, remember, shows like that back in those days were restricted, obviously, with the acting talent around the world. And yes, in some cases, they did stereotype, but at the end of the day, that was the time it was. Everybody understood it, and it wasn't anything racial, which people tried to make it out to be. It wasn't racial. They just made do with what they had. That's the way it was back then. And then you look at New Who under RTD. Sure, you had women working with him. And Doctor Who, under RTD's stewardship, was very progressive. Right? And even Moffat introduced progressive characters. Right? So all of this has been a false narrative. Again, I will say to those people out there, and we got 31 people watching, so I'm pretty sure that people that don't like me are listening right now. But I will say this to you. Nobody told you guys that you couldn't be fans. Nobody stopped you from switching on your TV or going out to the store to buy a DVD or videotape or a Big Finish audio. Right? Nobody told you that you couldn't be fans. Yous are the ones that are insecure and think that nobody wants yous around. And in fairness, the way most of yous act in fandom, the way yous criticise and bully and harass fans in the fandom, I don't blame fans and people in fandoms not wanting new fans in the fandom. Why would they? Every time new fans come into the fandom, they think they own the show all of a sudden. They try to take over and tell fans that have been watching this show long term that they're no longer fans. And yous are the ones that are telling us that we're not the fans and that we should get out. We've never told anybody that they can't be fans of this show. When the show came back in 2005, without new fans, we wouldn't be sitting here today talking. We, as fans, actually understand for our show to survive, We need the general audience out there. And along the way, some of that general audience will become fans. We understand that. This fandom has been very welcoming, actually, if you ask me. And it's been thrown back in their faces the last 5 years. And the reason why is because the newer fans that came in, when Jodie came along, they were just a different breed to those 2005 fans. Straight away, oh, I don't like this about Doctor Who, it has to change. Oh, we don't like this about Doctor Who, it has to change. Oh, we don't like this. Oh, we don't like how the fandom are doing that. We don't like this, that, the other. And then before you know it, the show that we loved and people that followed in their footsteps are looking at this and go, well, this isn't Doctor Who anymore. So you want to change it, come into a fandom, change the fandom, and change a show that we've been watching all our lives because yous are uncomfortable with some of the stuff that was featured in certain stories. But you're the ones that are new into the fandom. Yous are the ones that are pushing yous away, pushing yous our ideology, pushing yous our beliefs, and then acting like the bigots. And then if we don't all follow you guys and believe what yous believe, well, then we're the sexist bigots and we need to get out of the fandom. No. Without us, and this is the harsh and stark reality of the situation, and I'm going to tell you out straight, and this is something that's going to be hard for you to swallow, right? But this is the truth. Without us long-term fans, yous wouldn't even have a show to bitch and moan about, or a show to take over. And this is the thing you keep forgetting. If we didn't go out and buy the merchandise, if we didn't go support Doctor Who during its wilderness years and start listening to Big Finish and keeping it in the limelight, there wouldn't have been a show in 2005. So in fairness, right, fans like us should be treated with a little bit more respect. And yes, respect is earned, I'll agree. But if you're in this fandom this long and you've supported the show this long and it's come back because of your support, I think you are due a little bit of respect. But these fans come in like locusts and they have no respect and they destroy everything in their wake. And then when we go to call them out, then they crawl into the fetal position and then they play the victim. And then it's our fault. Our fault. Right, let's see who we have in the chat. We got a lot of people in the chat, so I know we're 44 minutes in on doing shout outs, but we'll do it anyway. So we got Peter in the chat, Peter Harrington, TARDIS Spider, Card Witch is in the house as well. We've got Problem Being, Foil 13 in the house, the classic 80s fanboy, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Rachel is in the chat as well. Tiggy is in the chat. Who else have we got? Who else? We got the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and thank you for that super chat, mate. We've already called them out. We got JFO. Welcome. We got Chris Persia, as I said, our head mod in the chat. Lindsay is there. Patrick is also in the chat, and TARDIS team disaster area also, and yeah. By the way, just to let you know, just to give you a little bit of heads up. So, as you know, we have a membership section, but just to give you a little a preview. Myself,
and Lee hopefully will be doing Friday night, maybe Friday night. We're not sure on the day yet, but we just want to throw it out there so you know and you are made aware of it, just to see what kind of reaction we get. But myself and Lee are thinking of putting something on maybe on a Thursday or a Friday night where basically we're gonna do a members stream show, and we're gonna basically do some fun stuff, maybe rip the piss out of the weekly news, stuff like that. It'll be adult content, obviously. Member streams, you could be a little bit more relaxed. So yeah, so that's what we're thinking of doing on members streams maybe every Friday. We haven't sorted out the day right now. And yeah, and the week that none of us can be on, like say Lee needs to go and do something, we won't be on that week, but we'll be on when person is available, when Lee is available and stuff like that. That's the way it'll work out, right? We hope to get it out there soon enough, but it'll be just myself and Lee taking the piss basically out of the week's events. It'll be Anton. Got to do Anton, man. Politics, fucking music, whatever the fuck out there that we need to poke fun at, we'll be poking fun at. So, OnlyFans, says Lee. Yeah, it'll be adult OnlyFans, yeah, for YouTube. That's what it will be. So, if you want to see me and Lee do OnlyFans or money messages, there's a membership join button there. There's one for $1.99, one for $4.99. There's different perks and different things there. So, if you haven't joined, please do. And again, as I said, thanks to Chris Persia, who did gift membership 5 new members out there. So if you've got a membership symbol beside your name, it's all down to the main man himself, Chris Persia, who did gift those memberships quite generously. So thank you for that. And I forgot, it was actually Thanksgiving, and I forgot to say after the last stream, I did write it up on Twitter, but if anybody didn't see it, just to all me Canadian friends, I know it's belated now, but happy Thanksgiving. I forgot that you celebrate Thanksgiving before the US. I always get it mixed up. But there you go. Happy Thanksgiving to our Canadian friends. Let's see. We got TARDIS Spider in the chat as well. I think I did mention them, but all the way from the Gulf Coast. So we got people from all over the world, all over the world. So yeah, basically it'll just be me and Lee ripping the crap, having a bit of fun. That's what this is about. This membership thing is about. We're just gonna have a bit of fun, have a laugh, because the world's gone too fucking serious and everything has just gone to crap. And laughter is always the best medicine, and we're gonna have a bit of fun with it. Kind of a no holds barred situation. Of course, we still have to be careful of certain words we use, because YouTube, doesn't matter, even if it's a member stream, you still have to be kind. But it's more laid back, and we will be less restricted. It's never too late now. Digest the oven. I hope you did have fucking lovely dinner. That's the part about Thanksgiving and Christmas I like, is the fact, the big dinners, the turkey, all of that, the stuffing. I love all of that, man. So yeah, absolutely brilliant, man. Well, here's the thing about Chris. You've asked me the question, Patrick, or you've asked everybody in the chat the question. So I will answer it, right? I don't want to dwell on it too much, right? So I'll put your question up. The power of the Doctor trailer has my interest piqued. Anyone else? Right. Right. So here's my reply to that. I think what you have seen in the trailer are
basically the best bits of this episode. Now, fans have been complaining for the last couple of months why we haven't had a trailer, right? And I actually think the reason why we haven't had a trailer is because, and a lot of people have said this as well, so I'm not going to take credit for this, but we did actually say months and months ago, when the trailer wasn't coming, or why haven't they put out the trailer? What's going on? Have they not got? Is the trailer not good enough, or what is it? So I think what you've seen in the trailer is the best bits of the episode, and I think the reason why it took so long to give us a trailer is that they tried to edit the trailer in a way that would make it look exciting and better than what it was. Remember, Legend of the Sea Devils had an absolutely brilliant trailer. We all thought it did. It looked great. And then the episode itself was absolutely dire, right? The same with the Power of the Daleks trailer. It was decent enough. Oh, the Eve of the Daleks. Sorry, Eve of the Daleks. It was decent enough, but it was a crap episode. And look at the trailer for Doctor Who Flux, which I think personally was the best trailer of the Chibnall era, right? And a lot of people did get excited over that trailer because the trailer was pretty impressive, and we actually thought, holy shit, is he actually going to pull this off and actually give us a good series? Are we actually going to get a good series from Chris Chibnall? And it started off half decent in the first episode, but we seen what happened. He had to come on after the series had completely finished and do a 15-minute video to try and explain to Doctor Who fans because, as some of the media and some of the Doctor Who accounts out there on Twitter who claim to be clever. Oh, well, you just didn't get it. What do you mean we didn't get it? No. You didn't get it either. Because are pretending to be clever that you did get it. See, we would have got it if Chris Chibnall had have actually wrote a cohesive script, built up the characters, and gave us a plot that was actually, it doesn't always have to be easy to follow, but one that makes sense, right? He done none of that. That's why he had to go on and do a 15-minute video to try and explain to the audience, because basically what BBC and Chris Chibnall trying to say, well, you're dumb. You're dumb. We ain't dumb. Doctor Who fans are the most intelligent fans out there, right? Flux didn't work because this is what happened in Flux, right? You simplify the failures of Flux. He introduced too many new characters each week, right? Which meant the already underdeveloped characters like Yaz, the Doctor, right? And then you bring in a new companion in what's his face, Dan, isn't it? Wherever his name was, I forget now. See, forgettable. Right? And then each episode, then you're adding new characters onto that, right? And then when you get 3 episodes in, you've got so many characters to develop and to move the stories along that and that's exactly what happened. It jumped from scene to scene to try get all of these characters developed. Some were even forgotten about completely, right? Because there was so many, you had to let's just pretend I didn't introduce them. We'll just leave them and we'll just pop them back up in the end, right? And he hadn't got a good story. There were elements of a good story there, but that's it. So the answer to your question is I think that, yes, the trailer looks impressive. I have to say it does look impressive. But the bottom line is that it's good. It's going to be mediocre. Sure, I was even told months ago, as you know, because we spoke about on this channel, I'm told that it's a train wreck. It's an absolute train wreck. And, going by what the sources have told me in the past, if they're telling me it's a train wreck, it's a train wreck. I have no doubt not to believe. I'm telling you, man, you've seen the best bits of the episode in that trailer. Sorry, I got distracted there because I heard the phone ringing. She actually did order a pizza. I didn't want that, man. Don't worry about unknown. Jesus, there's no pressure. Listen, nobody is pressured into getting a membership, man. Right? I'm just saying it's there. I'm supposed to have the banner up anyway. There, look, make it easier. But nobody is pressured into getting a membership. You don't have to get a membership. As I said, it's there for people that want it. But as I said, we will be bringing new content to the memberships. And Ted, stop that. Excuse me, I'm talking. Thank you. But we do want to do new stuff on it. So, who have we got? I thought I seen a new name in there. Yeah, if it was Chibs on the phone. Mystery Reapers in the chat. Cyber Match Strikes is in the chat. I knew I seen a couple of new names there. Sorry about that. We try to get everybody in as much as we can. Eve of the Daleks was okay. I mean, we reviewed it. There was some silly things that happened in it, but again, it's the Daleks. Yeah, we expect a lot more. She's just gone down to get our pizza, Lindsay. That's why he's barking, because he wants the bloody pizza. He's a spoiled little brat. I wonder if Chibs will be able to guess right for something during the 60th. I wouldn't have him doing that for the 60th. Chris Chibnall needs to keep away, way from the 60th. Right? I don't want him to have anything to do with the 60th. Right? Absolutely not. That's why I'm glad that RTD was announced and that he was taking the reins at the 60th. That was the best decision. Whoever made that decision made the right decision, in my opinion. A 60th anniversary led by Chris Chibnall, right? Picture it, right? It would have been a disaster. If you look at the 3 series, that it would have been a disaster. Absolutely a disaster. No way. Glad RTD has it. Absolutely. We are absolutely. It's a godsend that he's doing this 60th. Trust me. Listen, the evidence is there for everybody to see. Look, people can say that this writing was great and that his era is underrated and all of this. It's not. People will analyze this properly and truthfully in a few years' time when they're not caught up in all of this like feminist crap. Oh, more women need to be representing the Doctor Who. Women were always representing the Doctor Who. What are you talking about? Right? But when all of this nonsense stops, it'll be reviewed properly. Right? And all the things that we've said and other channels have said about it, right? These people will say the exact same thing. So no, I'm glad Chris Chibnall's not heading up the 60th. And I'm glad, and no, he better not have anything to do with it. Absolutely not. Don't want him as a guest writer or a shadow writer. Or if he even did write something, I don't want BBC to acknowledge it. Listen, even BBC put up a post with William Hartnell and said he's the 4th Doctor. Right, they're starting this thing, and some fans are speculating that they're going to start now, from now and until RTD's era actually official. So they're going to start releasing pictures. So they've already did one of William Hartnell. So if a Patrick Troughton one comes out in a week or whenever they do it, then that's the countdown. That's going to be a countdown. And if that's correct, we are how many weeks to Christmas now? Many weeks are we from Christmas? We're in October now, aren't we? Mid-October. So November, December. Yeah. right? If they start doing it, if a Patrick Troughton image gets dropped in the next week or two, and they continue that trend, well, then it'll get to Peter Capaldi. It will, just before Christmas Day. And then we'll have Shooty. I've got a funny feeling. It's just something that's telling me that RTD is going to completely ignore what's happened. I don't know what it is. Just something in me that tells me that I think that's exactly what he's going to do. Sorry about Ted. He doesn't understand that we're streaming.
Don't drink my soda.
What?
Don't drink my soda.
What soda?
The soda I put in there for drink.
You mean the Coke that you bought me that you're pretending that is for you?
No, you can't have it.
Yeah, it'll be gone by the time you come
All
out.
mine.
It'll be gone by the time you come out.
Stop it!
If you TARDIS team says, and it's a valid point. Sorry about Ted again. If you have to make a video on how your story works, then it's very clear. It very clearly doesn't. Flux should have spoken for itself. Exactly. And anybody with half a brain would actually have that logic. But, you know, some fan accounts out there were claiming that they knew exactly what Chris Chibnall was doing and that we were all stupid. No, you didn't. Don't pretend that you're smarter than actual Doctor Who fans. You're not. Right? It didn't work because it wasn't cohesive. The characters weren't developed properly. And he didn't write a decent feckin' story with decent plot points. All right, let's see what else we've got. Everybody is kind of commenting on the RT or the Chibs video. That's what I mean. There was just too many characters. Noel's right. Chibnall was unable to manage all the characters he's thrown into the mix. Exactly. It's ridiculous. He didn't need all of those characters anyway for Flux to work. He really didn't. He could have streamlined that story to make it actually make sense and put some meat on the bones. But he insisted on putting all these characters in. So then it becomes a mess. I still got a feeling that RTD has ghost written the 60th or had to re-edit it. Yeah, I think these are all getting mixed up. He's doing the 60th. This is the centenary special that's dropping. Are you all saying that you think he's had a hand in ghost writing the centenary because he's writing the whole 60th himself? RTD is. Chris Chibnall's doing the centenary. I think these are all getting mixed up here. The centenary is being written by Chris Chibnall, and the 60th is by RTD. So I think people are getting mixed up there. I think they're getting mixed up between the 60th and the centenary. RTD is doing the 60th. He's not ghostwriting. He's wrote the 60th. Sure, we've been seeing it being filmed. Chibnall has nothing to do with it. Chibnall has wrote the centenary special. Now, if you're asking, is there a possibility that RTD ghost wrote this centenary special with Chris Chibnall to help him out for his last episode? I highly doubt it. RTD has probably played a part in writing the regeneration scene, because when his doctor pops up, which will be David Tennant, then obviously he's going to be writing his lines. So he will be in the centenary, and it'll specify, just like they did with Stephen Moffat when Chibnall. He did Jodie Whittaker's part, Chibnall did. look, I'm going into this with zero expectations, right? So I'm not disappointed, right? Because he's disappointed me for 5 years and hasn't delivered. And you know what? I will say this, the closest he probably came to delivering was Flux. But again, it was just so flawed. I just think the other 2 seasons were worse than Flux. Series 11 had did all the damage anyway. When you do something completely different to what people see Doctor Who as, and you put that series out, and then you give us that season finale, then you've just, it's done. Series 12, he tries to course correct. Remember, this was a showrunner originally that was said that he didn't like the Daleks and didn't like the Cybermen. But yeah, for Jodie Whittaker's last episode now, who's coming in? The Daleks and the Cybermen. So he's backtracked on a lot of stuff as well. Everyone's hoping RTD has helped with the re-edit on the centenary because it was so bad. But why? But why? Why does... See, this is the thing that I don't understand, right? Yous are all... Right, okay, I am still hoping that the centenary can be decent, right? But at the end of the day, if it's not, it's no big deal. So why would anybody care if RTD came in to help him? Like, you don't care about it anyway, so why would people care whether, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense why everybody be saying, well, we're hoping that RTD did something to it. Like, why? Why would you want RTD to stick his nose in that mess? As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather RTD stayed well away, right? And even maybe the regeneration was done in such a way that they could film both separately, so they couldn't, you know. I wouldn't have him part of it. He will, obviously, as I said, if David Tennant appears at the end of the episode, which is almost a certainty, well, then he's going to be writing his first words. It's not going to be Chris Chibnall. So he will get his name on that centenary, but it will be made clear that David Tennant, the Doctor, written by RTD. Well, yeah, it would be nice to keep it a secret, but Peter, he has said that he's put out a lot of red herrings. And I reckon some people have been speculating as well that some of the aliens that we seen in those videos were actually red herrings. That this is RTD going above and beyond to try trick us all. Because apparently I'm told the beep the meep thing and all of this stuff that we've heard and found out may not be what it seems. And we also had a guy on here that we used to have on here that actually said the same thing as well. But look, back to this Jodie Whittaker interview, or lack of, but the words that she said. If Jodie Whittaker cared about Doctor Who, she would have done the research properly from day one. If Jodie Whittaker cared, she wouldn't have belittled fans when she did that video reading out those tweets. And by the way, some of the tweets that she read out, which is actually funny. So the tweets that she read out that were criticising her casting are still up. The accounts that were supporting Whittaker within that video have been taken down for abuse and harassment. So that tells you everything that you need to know about the people. Not all of them, but the majority of people that have supported this Doctor in particular. They are vile individuals. They've harassed, bullied, sent death threats to members of this fandom, including myself, as you all know. They've targeted our friends, our family members, right? They've accused us of all sorts of crap, right? All in the objective of trying to shut us up because we dared to speak up about the true nature of the state of this show. And we've been vindicated, by the way. No matter what they say, we've been vindicated. The last special, absolutely disaster ratings was. Doesn't matter what it gets up on catch up, it's still down from previous eras, previous series, even in Whittaker's own era. Right? It's been an absolute disaster from start to finish. And we are not long now from this ending. And we're less than 2 weeks now away from the end of this nightmare. And we will be in full celebration mode. I kind of was thinking to myself, there's nothing to celebrate, but there is. There is. We've got a lot to celebrate. We could finally put this nonsense behind us. I look forward with a bit of optimism for the future. And hopefully RTD can deliver a second time. Because, I'm quite sick and tired of this fandom, the nonsense that's gone on for the last 5 years. And we've all played our part, including myself. I've openly admitted that. Right? But it needs to stop. Everybody just needs to stop. If you like this era, good on you. Right? But I didn't like it. And I'm entitled to express those opinions on whatever platform that I want to. Just like you're entitled to express your love and admiration for two of the probably worst characters in Doctor Who's history, in Yaz and the Doctor. But you're entitled to do that. What you're not entitled to do is attack me and others in this fandom for not liking a female doctor. And I'm sick and tired of listening to this phrase. Well, the Doctor's an alien, so gender doesn't come into it. Well, a half a century of Doctor Who would tell you otherwise. Whether you like it or not, the Doctor originally started out as a man and continued that way for over half a century. Right? You can't just change it on a whim because you believe that more women need to be represented in Doctor Who, so you give the role to a woman. If you're not doing it for the right reasons, which is the betterment of the show, then you're already in trouble. And that's what happened with this era. They put agenda and political agenda before Doctor Who, and that was it. It was game over. And then as soon as she opened her mouth about the white male gaze, then you had that video, as I said, Stylist, where she's mocking fans who didn't like her casting. And then she does the breaking of the glass ceiling video. And then you have this production team telling everybody how they need to be less bigoted and we have to be very inclusive and diversify. But yeah, I showed you a photograph earlier of that production team. Hypocrites all. Hypocrites. They didn't give two craps about diversity hiring when it came to picking people for the production team. No. Hypocrites. Hypocrites. Unbelievable, man. Unfortunately, we are now stuck with 13 on the timeline of the Doctors. Well, I wouldn't actually say that's set in stone, my friend. I still think there's a possibility. I don't know, because I think this era is so divisive. I don't know. I think something will happen. I don't want to speculate, but She's going to look out a place in the middle of two male doctors. Look, I mean, again, you know, someone tried to bring up Missy on Twitter. Well, none of yous were outraged about Missy. Right, listen. I used to hold the belief, I used to call her a deranged Mary Poppins, right? I wouldn't actually acknowledge her originally, Michelle Gomez, as Missy, right? Because I did kind of have the same issue when it came to the doctor. I did have the same belief that I think the master is male. But you see, there's a difference. And this is the difference, right? Number one, Lee has actually said one of them. She was written very well. You had a good actress in Michelle Gomez as well, who knocked it out of the park. But it was Lee that made this comment when we were having, because we had this debate on Missy ages ago, probably a couple of years ago now, probably even longer than that. We were actually having a discussion on Missy. And he actually said this. And when I thought about it, I was like, actually, you know what? That's bang on. Actually, it makes sense now. And I've watched her since then in Doctor Who. I've watched Missy again. And we're actually watching her right now. We've been watching her in Doctor Who because we're on Peter Capaldi's run. And he says, well, think about it all. The master of the skies, he does all of these things. And I said, but yeah, he says, what's the ultimate disguise? What, become a woman, you know? So it made sense. Right? Changing the doctor's gender made no sense because there was, again, where was the indication? Right? And as Lee has rightly pointed out, the master of the skies, well, it makes sense for the master to take that next step and change his gender to fool the doctor. Right? But it made no sense with the doctor changing gender. Absolutely made no sense. Right? When he already had a backstory. Well, as far as the backstory would go. Right? But we know he was a little boy. We know that he had grandkid and Susan. Had a wife, obviously, then. A family. Right? He had a backstory. Established. Whereas the master story, because Master of Disguise does all of these things, that actually does make sense. And again, it does help if you have a great actress in Michelle Gomez who's absolutely bonkers. Which she was. Absolutely bonkers. Right? But if you're going to change the gender of the doctor, even if I don't believe it, right? And you change the gender of the doctor, well, Jodie Whittaker is not your answer. She was never your answer. She's not an actress that should have been brought in to try and make this female doctor work. You needed an actress that with gravitas, with screen presence, an actress that could command the screen. Unfortunately, Jodie is not that. She's great as part of an ensemble cast, but even with an ensemble cast, because that's why Chibnall cast so many people in the TARDIS, because he knew she wasn't good enough to hold the screen. So she should never have been given the job. So that's a failure on his part too. People say Joan Martin was better. Yes, she was better, but you're comparing her to Jodie Whittaker. Of course she's going to look better than Jodie Whittaker. Anybody playing the Doctor is going to be better than Jodie Whittaker. Sorry, but that's the fact and the reality of the situation. Right? But you put Joan Martin against any of those other doctors. Right? She's nowhere near. She's not good enough either. So we need to get away from this notion as well that, well, Joan Martin was better. Yes, she was, because she was compared to Jodie. You compare her to Jodie Whittaker's doctor because she's the other female doctor. Right? And out of the two female doctors, of course she's the better one. But if you compare her to our male counterparts, like we do with Jodie Whittaker, then Joan Martin doesn't measure up. She doesn't measure up either. So, like, you know, again, Anyway, that's my opinion on it. Don't know if anybody agrees with me on that one, but that's where I stand on. I don't think both of them are up to the standard. It's just Jo Martin looked a lot better, and she had a lot more going for her because she has a personality. That's the difference. Jodie Whittaker never, when it came to playing the Doctor, you know, they talk about the other side, our personality. Her personality didn't bleed through. If that's her personality, then it's boring as hell. She had no personality. Jo Martin had a little bit of personality about her, had a lot more going for her, and to be honest, is the better actress. So of course she was going to look good compared to Whittaker. But again, as I said, you measure these two women up against the male counterparts, they're nowhere near. And Jodie is further away than Jo Martin is. I would have Jo Martin's Doctor in the timeline over Jodie Whittaker's. If we had to, I would. But I wouldn't have her before the first Doctor. Certainly not. But if they could fit her in somewhere that was acceptable, I'd accept her Doctor over Jodie Whittaker's Doctor though. 100%. But you measure these two women up against the male counterparts, they do not reach the standards, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You know, people had their doubts about Matt Smith when he came in and he blew it out of the park. Proved us all wrong. Same with David Tennant. I didn't want David Tennant to be the Doctor. I remember when he was cast, I said, you're getting the guy from Casanova to play the Doctor. I was actually disappointed because I was gutted that that Christopher Eccleston was gone. Right? But again, Christmas Invasion, right? Okay, he's lying down, he's asleep for most of it. But when he pops up in those scenes and he got to play the Doctor and do the role, he was bleeding brilliant. Brilliant. Then we knew we were in safe hands with David Tennant. The 11th Hour, Matt Smith, same thing. Peter Capaldi's even his first episode. For me, brilliant as well. Right? Lots of people weren't in favour of the way his Doctor was. I didn't mind the grumpy Doctor, right? I actually look at season 8 gets a lot of stick and it does have a lot of duds. I'm not going to lie. But there are some good episodes in there, and I think Peter Capaldi's performance holds it together. Right? Season 9 and 10, I think, is where Peter shines the most personally. Season 9, brilliant. Season 10, I think, is even a step up because they got the companion spot on with Bill Potts. The dynamic was actually good there. But again, exactly, Michelle Gomez, right? An actress like Michelle Gomez, or that caliber of actress, someone like that, someone that's a bit out there, right, would have been better than Jodie Whittaker to play the Doctor. I just don't think she was up to the standard. And I don't think she was up to the job. And I'm with Lucky. Did she try her best? I don't deny that Jodie Whittaker tried her best. And she absolutely did. Right? Some of the things that she said and did gave us the impression probably that she didn't care. But she would have tried her best. Of course she would have tried her best. You know, it's going to go on her CV as well. You know, it's going to have an impact on her career. But little did she know that the man that was supposed to be writing her Doctor did everything wrong. He crippled her Doctor. We will never truly know what a Jodie Whittaker Doctor would have looked like because Chris Chibnall cannot write a female Doctor. Bottom line. He couldn't write a female Doctor if it saved his life. I can guarantee you that there's fans in this fandom that would have wrote Jodie Whittaker's Doctor 10 times better than Chris Chibnall did. Right? Would she still have been up for it? No, I think she still was miscast. But she would have gave a fair go, told her to do the research. Listen, go, give it a fair go there. Give it your best whack. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And there's nothing wrong with that. right? But if you show the fans that you made the effort to actually care, not just hollow words, because that's what it's been for me with Jodie Whittaker the last 5 years. I've never believed the thing that's come out of her mouth when she said she's cared for this show. Genuinely, not one moment has she convinced me that she cared about this show. That's sad. Seriously, people don't actually believe this. But even when she was casting, I was angry about her casting and stuff. And we saw that leaked video, and we kind of all reported on that leaked, the first scene where she crashes to the train. Even then, even though we were being negative, we were all fingers crossed, toes crossed, all of it crossed, that somehow this could actually work. And as soon as that first episode dropped, the woman who fell to earth, it was game over. And when the doctor have their moment, and it comes to the speech, and she had the speech on the crane when she finally says, "I'm the doctor. I know who I am. I'm blah blah blah. They save people, the universe, blah blah blah, all of that." Right, and then she goes, "I'm the doctor." Well, I just literally looked at the screen and I nearly got sick. I was very upset. I'm actually not going to lie. I was actually angry and upset because the arrogant, the way she delivered the line, because she knew there was a backlash to our doctor. So I knew when she was saying that line, "I am the doctor," and the smugness of it. And within 3 weeks, it fell apart. 3 weeks later, it was done. It was done. 3 weeks later, it was done. Actually, no, sorry. 2 weeks later, it was done. No, her accent didn't help either. You're right. Absolutely. And the fact that she kept her accent, and look, people will argue that other doctors kept their accents and, other actors changed their accent. I suppose it depends on the person. But if I had been showrunner and Jodie was the doctor, let's just say I had no choice but to cast her, then I would have quietly told her, "Listen, your accent is not going to work here. It's too strong, And listen, people might look nowadays. People probably say, "Oh, that's disrespectful," or that's bigoted," or whatever that crap people come out. It's not. Some people find my Irish accent very hard to understand, especially Americans. Right? My wife was on the phone to a couple of our friends. Actually, she was doing a recording a bit of audio or something. She was sending a message, and I came out. I didn't realize she was out, and I was talking to her, right? And our friends didn't understand the fucking word that was coming out of my mouth, right? Because the Irish accent, and believe it or not, I don't have the heaviest Irish accent, compared to most people. You probably wouldn't understand my ma or my dad, or my brothers and sisters, because they're really, really proper, thick Irish accents, whereas mine, for some weird reason, is a bit diluted. Right? So yeah, sometimes I think, remember, you do the best for the role. You adapt. See, this was Jodie Whittaker's problem, right? And Chris Chibnall's. Chris Chibnall tried to adapt Doctor Who for a woman, and Jodie Whittaker tried to adapt. Oh no, Whittaker tried to adapt the Doctor's character to suit her, and that was wrong. When you come in and take that role, you're the one that has to adapt. If you take the role as showrunner and you step up to take that job, you have to adapt your writing to the show and to the lore canon that's already there and stuff that's already been established. You have to adapt to that. You can't come in and decide, well, I don't like all of this, so I'm going to change everything. You can't do that. Just like when you cast for the wrong reasons. You don't cast based off talent, but you cast based off gender, politics, or whatever other nonsense politic that you want to push. You should always cast the best people, bring in the best writers, bring in the best talent, end the story. Right? But if you do it for certain reasons other than what's best for the show, well then it's game over. And Jodie Whittaker didn't adapt. She tried to adapt the role to suit her, and Chris Chibnall adapted the show to suit her. And that was wrong. That was wrong. David Tennant adapted. He's Scottish, but he adapted and gave us an English accent so fans could understand. And he doesn't even really have a heavy Scottish accent, I don't think either, by the way. I could understand his Scottish accent. I think Peter Capaldi's accent is actually stronger. Right? But at the time, he thought what was best for the role was for him to adapt his accent. And it worked. Matt Smith had no accent, I don't think, to adapt anyway, because Matt Smith is Matt Smith. He talks the same way and everything. So, like, even House of the Dragon, he's brilliant in that, by the way. He's a fucking animal. I love him. I loved him in Doctor Who. I've got great respect for what he's done on Doctor Who, but he's fast becoming. I think Hollywood have treated him like shit and given him crap roles, and he's ended up on the cutting room floor more times than he's actually been in roles. But now this show, hopefully House of the Dragon kickstarts his career properly, because he is one hell of an actor. He's one hell of an actor. He's brilliant in The Crown as well. If you've watched The Crown, he's been in the first 2 seasons of The Crown. He's bleeding brilliant. Right? Then Peter Capaldi came in and he decided to keep his Scottish accent. Right? But it worked. But David Tennant did what he thought was best at the time. But the point is all of these people, bar Tom Baker, because Tom Baker played Tom Baker as the Doctor. Tom Baker is just that weird. So, like, you know. But every other Doctor has had to make some adjustment to adapt to the show. And of course, they bring their own personality to it. And that's what makes their Doctor stand out, is their personality, right? And this is why Jodie Whittaker's Doctor never stood out, because unfortunately, I don't think she had. Look, she's probably fun to be around, and certainly in today's video Q&A, she seems to be like a fun person to be around, but she didn't show that in other interviews and stuff like that. So I don't. All of this business that she was crying, no, it's bullshit. She's gone to Comic Cons now. There's a lot of money to be made in that. So you need to be saying the right things, you know. And that's what she'll be doing for a while. She'll do those Comic Cons and stuff. Because I honestly do believe this show has damaged her career. Now, whether it's long term or not, we will see. But even before she was leaving, we covered this. She's already producing her own projects, right? So she's already, I think, preempting the fact that she mightn't get much work. So she's starting to create her own stuff. And I think that's what she'll need to do. At least to try and repair the damage done by Chris Chibnall. Remember, all of this is on Chris Chibnall, though, right? Yes, I can criticize her for not doing the research and for not treating the fans right and all of that. But at the end of the day, she shouldn't have been put in this position in the first place. And it all harps back to Chris Chibnall. You should never have hired her. Right? You should never have hired her. She should never have been given the job. I don't know what to say anymore about it because, like, it's just, as I said, we're coming to the end now. But it's nice to look back. Well, not nice, but I think it is nice to remind people of all of the stuff that has gone on over the last 5 years. And remember, this was all compounded by the media as well, and certain accounts on Twitter that were pushing a certain narrative and that were calling out fans, people that used to work for the Doctor Who magazine, calling out fans, telling fans that there was no debate to be had. Remember, when Whittaker was cast, well, there's no debate to be had on a female Doctor. Oh, yes, there is. Yes, there is. But there was no conversation tolerated. But did you notice it was different when Jodie was cast? Right? Nobody was telling anybody that they couldn't talk about his casting or give their opinions on it. Completely different reaction. I mean, the male gaze thing was bad, right? But I think what sealed Whittaker and the production team's fate was that breaking of the glass ceiling video, and then she says whoops at the end. Because that was a big finger to every person. And see, this is the thing, they'll tell you that was just men that were complaining about a female Doctor. That's a lie. There are plenty of women in this fandom that didn't want to be pandered to, right? But that whole breaking of the glass ceiling was a two middle fingers to all of those fans that dared criticize this casting, because at that stage we gotten several interviews, right? I think we gotten the poster of Thor and the TARDIS. She'd done a couple of interviews. She'd already done the white male gaze. She'd done the stylist video. So there was a lot out, and then that just added to it, right? It was done. It was done even before Series 11 started. It was done. Exactly. The BBC actually wasted their money on this era. They wasted their money. That money could have been better spent. And then remember in Series 12, let's not forget then, because then Jodie Whittaker and the rest of them were made aware of the backlash even more. Remember, Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill did an interview where they actually reference the Not My Doctor side of the fandom. And they have a dig at them. And then a week later, it was actually a week before the Skyfall episode dropped. Right? And then we get Stephen Fry and the whole, oh, I'm an upgrade line. That again was another dig at fans that dared to speak up and speak their minds about how bad Series 11 was. And Chris Chibnall didn't like it, and he blatantly put that line in because he was letting fans know, well, I don't care what you actually think. And he was doubling down and telling fans basically, well, you might be bitching and moaning about it, but guess what? I'm in charge. I remember, this is the same production team, Matt Stevens, and you can check all of this out. Matt Stevens did an interview, and Chris Chibnall did an interview where they said, that it's not a democracy, that we will write Doctor Who how we see fit, and if anybody's complaining, basically, tough shit. Now, I'm sorry, but this is how I look at it. You're given a show like Doctor Who, and as showrunner, your first job is to safeguard the legacy of the show, which means that you don't do anything stupid or controversial or break canon or try and explain things that fans do not need explanations to. But that's exactly what he did. He came in, he decided that, well, it's Doctor Who, but maybe we should explore that a little bit. Well, what he's gone and done is he's created the timeless child, right? Which therefore then was responsible for creating the Time Lords. And how did that creation come about? Well, a woman from Gallifrey finds a child abandoned, takes that said child home, raises that child as her own, right? Child has accident. Said child is brought back home and regenerates in front of said carer. Carer sees this. Carer happens to be a scientist. So that carer, that woman who's been looking after this child and raising this child as one of her own, decides that, well, I'm going to start experimenting on this child. But not only am I going to experiment on this child, I'm actually going to kill this child multiple times until I get what I need out of this said child. And that's what the foundation of the Time Lords is now. It was the exploitation, the suffering and abuse of a child. Yeah. And that brought about the Time Lords. Because if she hadn't experimented on that child and did all those things to that child, we wouldn't have Time Lords. But this is what Chibs has done. He decided that he was going to change the origins or give us an origins to the Time Lords. Nobody asked for it, but he knows best. Who the hell does he think he is? His first job is to safeguard, as I said, the legacy. He can add stuff to canon, providing it doesn't destroy other parts of canon. Now, we as Doctor Who fans understand that Doctor Who canon is quite complicated and you know, it does have its flaws in some places, right? But have we as fans ever asked any of these writers or showrunners to fix the things that Chris Chibnall tried to fix? Absolutely not. Because even though I had those flaws and whatever, we were okay. We were all right. The Doctor came from Gallifrey. We were given just enough information. And again, did we truly need to know the origins of the Time Lords and how they came about? No. That's like that whole thing. This is why I never liked the prequel trilogy to Star Wars. When they did the whole Darth Vader reveal. I mean, that's kind of, I knew he was Luke's father, but I kind of didn't want to know, didn't want to know how he became Vader. Kind of takes away the mystery. Yeah. Andrew Cartmel knew best as well. Okay, with Doctor Who. He knew not to meddle where his nose wasn't supposed to be. But that's what Chris Chibnall did. He stuck his nose where it wasn't supposed to be and thought, well, I've had problems with this show because I gave out the Pip and Jane Baker, so now I'm showrunner now. Even though I turned it down 2 times beforehand, I think now is the right time to destroy the show and fix the things that I believe that are wrong with the show. Who the hell does he think he is? he is now in no position, or any of us as fans, because he's supposed to be a fan, in no position to fix things that we believe are fixed. You can have your own headcanon, all fans do, right? But that's where it stays, right? You don't put it down on paper and then try to replicate it on screen. And that's what Chibi's unfortunately tried to do. Yeah, Cartmel came out in a YouTube video on a YouTube channel's a YouTuber tried to bring him on and tried to get it out of him that it was the Timeless Children, that what Chibnall was doing was basically the Cartmel master plan. But Cartmel himself on a YouTube channel dismissed this completely, actually. And actually, I think even, I can't put words in his mouth, but I don't think he was very impressed with Chris Chibnall and what he was doing with Doctor Who. So, yeah, some fans in their desperation to try and get this Chris Chibnall nonsense validated actually went to Andrew Cartmel and got him on YouTube videos to do interviews. And he dismissed it off the bat. He dismissed it off the bat and said, no, that's not what I was trying to do. So when is her actual last episode? The 23rd of this month. So we're less than... It is now the 11th of October. So the 23rd of October, 7:30, BBC One. And that is it. She's done. He's done. Well, they're already done. Remember, they've already left. It's just the last episode is there, and we've had to wait this long because they've dragged it out. And I think they've just dragged it out to give RTD a bit of time as well, which is a good move in my opinion. But they've dragged it out. And they wanted something apparently just to mark down the centenary on BBC. So, yeah, they dragged it out. So we've had to wait a long time for this. And again, as I said, we've watched every episode, every special. You know, apparently I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I've watched everything. And I will watch this final one of the Jodie Whittaker era. And as I said, when it was announced that she was leaving, you know, as that account that got the account that she referenced in that video, stylist video, that was taken down for abuse and harassment. It's funny that the accounts that she read out were done for abuse and harassment. The ones that were against her casting are still up because they weren't gone around abusing and harassing people. But the people that were defending her were, where she said, hashtag good riddance, hashtag Dr. 13. Well, yes, hashtag good riddance and hashtag Dr. 13. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Simple as that. And someone just said, wouldn't it be ironic if she just fell off a cliff and regenerated? That'd be so Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. And I was actually thinking about, and this was from a Jodie Whittaker fan, I was actually kind of thinking about and saying, you know what? They're actually spot on. That would be actually perfect. That'd be actually perfect because, you know, she shirks all responsibility. She's careless, right? She lets people die in her name. So, you know, it would actually make sense if she tripped herself up and fell off a cliff and regenerated. It would be funny. But obviously it won't happen that way. But that would be funny. Of course they'll move on. Of course they. And Texoyun, or whatever her name isn't Mother of the Year right there. I know. That's what I mean. when you explain out the origins the proper way, right? They show you a nice little fancy video, right? But if you watch the video, they show her injecting that child. So she's murdering that child to see if that child regenerates. So the first time she does that, after she's seen the child regenerate the first time, when she sticks that syringe into that child's neck, she doesn't know whether that child's going to regenerate again. So she was willing to murder that child just all in the name of science. And what makes that even harder to believe is the fact that we were led to believe that this woman, after she found the child, raised this child for years, and then the child had an accident, and then all of a sudden then she just flicks a switch and then basically starts experimenting on the child, murders the child to get this power of regeneration, which therefore then ends up being the whole basis of the Time Lord's rise. The Time Lord's origin is based off, as I said, the exploitation, the multiple murder, abuse, and experimentation of a child. Now, I wrote that up on a Doctor Who group, and he said, that's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. Just because you don't like the way I've worded it that way to be the extreme, because that's exactly what she did. And I'm just speaking straight. She murdered the first time she stuck that injection thing into her neck. She didn't know whether that child was going to regenerate or not, right? So she was willing to take that risk and murder that child, all in the name of science. And we were led to believe that this woman cared for this child and looked after this child for years. You wouldn't go and do that to a child that you've looked after for years. It doesn't even make sense anyway. Even if you are a scientist and you're curious, are you really going to experiment and murder a child that you raised as your own? I mean, I don't know what world Chris Chibnall's living in. Maybe that is the stark reality of this world. I don't know. But I think that's the wrong message to be sending out to people. Now, remember, when the Origins trailer went up, it has more dislikes to likes, by the way, and that's still the case even to this day. But what's startling is that YouTube had actually scrubbed over 2,000 dislikes before we got the dislikes that we have now. So if you add another 2,000 onto that original, onto the dislike ratio that we have now, and add another 2,000, that's the true amount of people that have actually hate that trailer. That trailer has got more dislikes than likes. And that should tell BBC everything. And I think that did. I think when they threw that up, and Jodie Whittaker saying that she'd already made up her mind a year beforehand, well, then that would make it around the time the Timeless Child dropped. Right? And look at the bad reaction it got. Look at the bad reaction it got. Look at the downvote. And it's on both trailers, by the way, because they release it on the BBC official and they released it on the BBC actual YouTube channel as well. And both have more of a dislike ratio to a like ratio. It's been, and by the way, the fans can't say on social media, oh, it's all you guys on Twitter. No, it's not all of us on Twitter. So you keep forgetting that YouTube is open to the public as well. And the British public do subscribe to these channels, especially BBC. And if they're even downvoting a Doctor Who Origins trailer, and if you even read some of the comments, people say, I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I always thought Doctor Who was from Gallifrey, blah, 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 blah. Even they know, the British public. Because even though some people in Britain don't watch Doctor Who, they know of Doctor Who. They know how popular it is. Been around, as I said, for over half a century. So, of course, everybody knows it's an institution. So, I mean, you know, this whole mess. And listen, you know, we got this episode is where people are hoping that a lot of this wrongdoing that we believe Chibnall has done is fixed. I wouldn't be surprised if he just totally ignores it, man. and just does whatever story this is, because that's how vindictive he is. He'll just leave it open. He won't give a crap. You know what he'll do? He'll leave it because he'll probably think, well, I'm not going to change it. So if the next showrunner, which happens to be RTD, well, he can either choose to change it or ignore it. I wouldn't be surprised if he do that, because he's that vindictive. I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't, and a lot of people did say at the time, I don't think everything is going to be resolved. He just hasn't got the brain to do it. He does have a way out, though. That fob watch gives him a way out, and a simple way out. But we didn't see the fob watch. Oh, I've just had to cop on something now. Do you know the energy that's around Jodie Whittaker? What if that's the fob watch energy? I'm just saying. Because I don't think that's her regenerating in that scene that you see where she's calling Yaz at the end of the trailer. Oh, by the way, did you notice how they edited the trailer to make sure that the last words that came out of Jodie's mouth in that trailer was Yaz? Seriously, man. They're so obvious with it. They're so obvious because they know that all of these, leaving that at the end is a smart move, right? Because they'll know that all of these Tassies will keep watching that trailer just to hear at the end, yes, yes. And I'm speculating, if she does die, I'm speculating that's probably the moment where Yaz is actually being killed by the Master or something. At least we didn't see the fob watch in the trailer. Exactly, but is that energy around her actually her opening the fob watch, but we just can't see the fob watch? I don't know. Because I don't think she's regenerating in that scene. But seriously, man, do you think we're stupid? I know exactly what they were doing at the end of that trailer. Boost up the views. And it's worked. It's worked on Twitter. I think it has 1.6 million views or something, but it's not doing too well on YouTube, but it's doing well on Twitter. Good, we get to see her suffer twice, says Lee. See, that's what I mean. That's how everybody is just feeling right now. You just absolutely just don't give a crap. And Doctor Who fans don't want to be like that. But this is just a relief for a lot of people, and it's going to be. Can't wait for this nightmare to be over finally. Well, unknown. There's supposed to be all doctors in Jodie Whittaker centenary. So, and you've seen some of the old companions. The one thing the trailer didn't show is whether other old doctors are going to feature. But we saw the old companions. Don't be surprised if the old doctors are there as well. Oh yeah, it auto plays on Twitter. You're right. You're right. And all they'd have to do is just keep leaving it on and repeat and repeat and repeat. Actually, you can make a valid point there. Well, anyway, look, we've gone to the 2 hour mark. He's sitting beside me moaning. She brought him out, so obviously she's either still eating or that's a signal for me to bring him out. So So yeah, I'm dreading what they're going to do to Sylvester, Peter, Colin, and Bradley. Bradley's first Doctor. Need 12 to show up and tell her to snap out of it. Well, Peter has kind of knocked that on the head now in saying that, actors have said that they're not coming back for roles, and then it's all been a big surprise, and that could be a cat that you could pull out, or a rabbit you could pull out of the hat right at the end, Chibnall, but I doubt it very much. By the way Peter is talking, and he's trying to stay as humble as can be, but I still think he's a bit sore about being let go, because be under no illusion, Peter Capaldi was replaced for Jodie Whittaker. When Chris Chibnall was originally announced as showrunner, Peter Capaldi had done an interview to say that he couldn't wait to work with Chibs because they had worked together on Torchwood, and he thought he was a great writer and all of this. He's blown the usual smoke, as you do when a new showrunner comes in, and he said he couldn't wait to get working with him. And what was it? Literally 4 weeks maybe later, 3 weeks later, Peter Capaldi goes to a radio station, Zoe Ball, and is bawling his eyes out, saying that he's quitting as the Doctor, while literally getting upset. Peter Capaldi did not quit Doctor Who because Peter Capaldi is not a quitter. Peter Capaldi was basically sacked, and that's just the reality of it. I'll say it out straight. He was sacked and replaced because Chris Chibnall said in an original interview, which you can go and find, he originally said the only reason why he took this is because BBC guaranteed him that he could cast a female Doctor, right? And then a year later, then he tries to contradict that and come out and say that, no, actually other people auditioned, including blokes. So he backtracked on that a year later, right? But his stipulation was that he'd only take this if he could do it his way and cast a female Doctor. And they went along with it. The production team was replaced. The time team was replaced. Remember, all of these things were replaced. And what did it do? Well, it didn't. None of it benefited the show. So, I mean, look, whether Chris Chibnall does truly believe he wrote something epic, he didn't. Maybe he will reflect. And I think he has done a bit of reflecting even now and has admitted that he got some things wrong. I think when he looks back on a whole, he will see that he did a lot of things wrong. Because he did. But remember, Time Team and all was replaced. And was replaced with all of these people, not all of them actually, but several of them engaged in Twitter spats with me and a couple of other people. We even had some of them write articles for Digital Spy and Screen Rant coming out about how the Timeless Child nonsense fit into Canon. And then a couple of months later, then the same article, but then they had changed the headline where it almost fits into Canon, then was the fucking headline. So the same article with two different headlines as well, by the way. So yeah. I'm just happy that they stopped calling every episode epic. Well, there's nothing epic about the Chibnall era, unfortunately. And there's very few highlights, if I'm honest. But as I said, it all comes to an end now, real soon. and we can then focus and see what RTD gives us, and hopefully it's something that we can all get behind as a fandom, because I think right now the state of the world is in, and society, I think we need something to kind of a bit of escapism. So hopefully RTD can deliver, or RTD2 as we're calling his era now. Hopefully it delivers. We can get behind this show again. I don't care about the other side, because they're going to be kicking and screaming anyway for years to come about how unjust Jodie Whittaker's doctor was treated and all of this other rubbish. She certainly didn't help the situation. And if you aren't willing to accept that she got things wrong, well, then there's no point he is actually speaking to us. Anyway, we will leave it there, because as I said, I have to bring me doggy out. And yeah, let's see. Well, the way people are going on bleeding Twitter and all and social media, Lee, it might bleeding feckin' happen. Yeah, everybody that was involved in the Whittaker era were toxic. They were disrespectful to previous doctors as well. Remember that. Remember that. We never forget, and we never will forget, how previous doctors were treated by these newer fans, the media. Piers Wenger, when his comments, when he said Peter Capaldi wasn't universally loved. We don't forget these things, and we never will, and we will not forgive either. But RTD is being given a chance because he proved himself with his first era. If it wasn't RTD that returned, and I'd even say if it wasn't Stephen Moffat, if it was someone else completely, nobody would be interested. Nobody'd be interested. The only reason why there's interest in Doctor Who still is because RTD has come back. That's it. It's because RTD has come back. It's the only reason why there's interest. Now, if it had been Stephen Moffat, I do believe there would be that interest there still as well. Right? But that's the only two blokes. Right? If it was anybody else that they brought in, I don't think fans would be interested. I think they'd be, after this centenary be done, that's it. They wouldn't care what came after that. But it's because it's RTD. So we'll see what happens. And hopefully I'm still cautiously optimistic, but I'm still excited, especially after seeing that logo. If that is the logo for the 60th and hopefully beyond, I think it's a great smashing logo. I didn't like RTD's original logo for the 2005 series. I've made that clear over the years. But if this is going to be the new logo that everybody has seen, well, I'm on board, man. That is a fucking great bleeding logo. Oh yeah, the show was being cancelled. The show was being cancelled. If RTD hadn't stepped in, it was getting canned. And as I said, some people in the chat there having concerns. And as I said, you are all entitled to have those concerns, and some of you are genuinely worried. But as I said, as we haven't seen anything on screen yet from RTD since his last era of Doctor Who, and I'm talking Doctor Who specifically, I think we should wait and see what happens first before we jump the gun and start judging. But I can understand why some have, because of the last 5 years that we had. It is very difficult to not be suspicious of RTD. I know there is suspicion there because of the last 5 years, and as I said, I get it. I get it. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Because Doctor Who, as I said, if you listen to his interviews, the way he talks about Doctor Who, he understands that Doctor Who is a completely different animal to any other show that he's written before. And he even said it, Jordan, It's a Sin, when he was doing an interview, that stories like It's a Sin, years and years, he needed to get them out. These are stories that he wanted to tell. Then he was talking about Doctor Who, talking about how stories like that wouldn't necessarily work in Doctor Who because Doctor Who's sci-fi show and stuff like that. He's always, understood. Even in early interviews, even Stephen Moffat has said that Doctor Who's completely different to any other show that you write. You've got to get it spot on, And Chips decided to rip up the rule book and change it, and it didn't work. Anyway, we will leave it there now. Finally, but listen, as I said, we're working on something for the members, a weekly night show, as I said, where we're just gonna have a bit of fun, rip the piss. When we're ready to launch, we will let you know. But I just wanted to give you as a heads up to let you know. Give us your actually, it was suggested that I throw a poll up, but I'll actually ask you now because I have a lot of you in the chat right now, especially you members. So how would you members feel having a weekly, nightly, for one night a week, a nightly show where myself and Lee are obviously co-hosting and ripping the piss out of the week's news and stuff like that, and other stuff like that, fun stuff like that? Would you be up for that? If you are up for that, please press 1 in the chat. If you don't want us to do anything like that, then press 2. It's a democracy. So if you want me and Lee to do that, as I said, do a membership weekly. It'll be every week. Obviously, then, if there's a week that Lee can't turn up, we'll cancel for that week. And we'll be back then when Lee is available. But we try to have it on a weekly basis. So if you are up for that, please press 1 in the chat. We've already got a couple of ones, as I said. So yeah, if you are into that, we will do that. Just something different to do, something fun, and something different for the members, obviously. So we got another one there as well. So we got a couple of ones. Does Lee get a say? What me and Lee have already discussed this behind the scenes. This has already been discussed with me and Lee. So there's nothing to discuss because we've already discussed this. So Lee has already had his say. Chris, and to make Lee work for his spot on the channel. That's a good one. All I ask, Noel, is to give us a set time because of the time zones. Well, we will. That's the stuff that we have to sort out. But myself and Lee will sort that kind of stuff out. But we'll be letting you know beforehand. That's what I said. We'll be letting you know when we're launching and the date and the time and all of that. So don't worry. We're gonna, as I said, and I said to Lee backstage as well, this, we're gonna do this properly. So we're gonna plan, and that's what we're doing. We're in the planning stages right now. We just wanted to give you a heads up and see if it's something that you would like us to do. So as I said, for those that haven't pressed 1, or 2, if you'd like to see me and Lee do that, then just press 1, and if you don't, press 2. Raymond O'Reilly, 1. So look, we've gotten a lot of ones from the members there. So I think from the members' point of view, it's an overwhelming yes. So yeah, right, good. Well, I'm glad now. Yeah. So as I said, myself and Lee then will we'll iron out what we'd like to do on it and how we're going to approach it and stuff. Then we'll give you a time, a set time, date when we're launching, and obviously we'll let you know what day. Well, whatever day we launch on will be the weekly day and the time, but we'll let you know. So yeah, we got plenty of ones. So there you go. Okay. Fantastic, fantastic. Count me in. I always miss the beginning of these streams, says Patrick. Leland says hello. And seems like someone in the chat is a bit under the weather at the moment. Cardwitch, everybody is saying get well soon. Yes, I shared. I'm going to head off now. I'm recovering from COVID, and it made me so sick. Take care, all. You too. Take care, and I'm glad that you're on the mend. So, yeah, you look after yourself. Get plenty of rest. And Leland always comes in when we're about to finish up. always arrive as the party is ending. Yeah, I don't know if people are getting notifications. I do know while I had the first trade, as you know, we do the 5 minute countdown now. But as I was doing it, and we were 3 minutes in, I get a notification to say that that my stream is about to start soon on Facebook. So if it's happening on Facebook, it's happening on YouTube. I don't think people are getting notifications. So what you can actually do is, obviously, if you go into your settings on your wherever you're using, whether it's a handheld device like a phone or a tablet, you can go into that. I think you can go into the YouTube app itself, and you can turn on the notifications direct. So you won't miss it, because the YouTube one doesn't work. So there is a way to get around that. But yeah, sometimes the notifications don't go out, so you'll have to kind of, I do try throw the stream up before, but lately, well, in fairness, the last two I put them up 10 minutes before I streamed, but normally I do put them up about a half hour before we stream. So yeah, do that anyway. But look, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as I said, we'll be back tomorrow. And if there's any more news out there, stuff that's worth talking about, we'll obviously keep you informed. But yes, this party it has started. So enjoy it, folks, because the excitement, not for even for this, it's not even for the centenary, it's just the excitement to get there, because we know what's coming next. So yeah, get excited. Oh, and I'll be throwing up a video soon. The thing king did some artwork of Jodie, Whittaker, and Chris Chibnall. So I'll be throwing her up soon. So look out for that. Bit of fun. So you will enjoy it. So as I said, look out for that. Right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave it there. I want to thank everybody for popping in. Thank you to the legend of the traveling TARDIS for that super chat. And again, as I said, some of you will notice that you might be a new member and wonder how that happened. Chris Persia, our head mod, very generously gifted 5 memberships our last stream. So that was absolutely brilliant of them to do. So yeah, if you've noticed you've got a membership badge beside your name, it's thanks to our head mod and all round great guy. Hard working as well. He doesn't just mod on my channel. He mods on loads of different channels, and he loves doing it. But he's been supporting me for a long time now, and I really, like, seriously, I was I was humbled when he did that. So he's gifted some memberships there. So welcome if you're a new member. Nice to have you on board. And to the rest of you, as always, that support me in all the videos that we do, all the streams that we do. I just want to thank you all for your support. It means a lot. And to the new people that we've seen pop in, nice to see us. I hope you are enjoying the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you are. And we will see you all again. Hopefully tomorrow. There'll be something. There's always something. We'll be back tomorrow anyway. So until then, enjoy the rest of your evening or afternoon or wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and hopefully there isn't a nuclear war and we're able to come back tomorrow. Because you know what? I think it would suck to go out that way. Absolutely suck. I have to be honest. It would. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised because we're a bunch of morons anyway, aren't we? We like to shoot and blow up things first before we solve our issues. Everybody should just sit around the table and bleed and talk before it gets too much now. End of. And that's the only political thing I'm going to say about it. So I'm done. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.